Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of Stashport for Stash Project. Today's August 23rd, 2021, kind of, sort of, more or less. It is a few days later as we are back home here after taking our trip out to Las Vegas for the 2021 IPMS Nationals. So, good time was had by all. We covered all of these sort of what I get and what I thought of the show and things like that over on the other channel. That video's been up for a few days, so you want to go over there and check that out. If I remember, I'll throw a link in the description to the video so you can go check that out. Just our general thoughts on the show itself, how it was run, some of the drama that's been running around afterwards. Second there, I thought my super glue was uncapped, but it's all good. And about it's a yearly occasion. It's almost like the afterglow of the Nats, right? It is the controversies about what was wrong with the Nats this year, and it's like, I know it was my first Nats, and I shouldn't be that sassy about it, but it's as somebody who does, help put on a show locally, we do get a low-grade amount of static every year about all the things that we did wrong, and I can only imagine how frustrating that has to be for those folks out there, especially considering what they went through in order to just put the show on. To have everybody go home and then just decide basically that it sucked. So we had a great time. It was a great show. Personally, I felt, granted, I had nothing entered, so I had no skin in the game, as it were, in terms of the actual outcome of the contest portion, but we had a good time. That's what it really comes down to. Had a good time. Saw a bunch of folks, some YouTubers and whatnot. So, again, worth the trip for me, and look forward to going to Nebraska in 2022. Now, the format of this video is going to be a little bit different than our normal one. We're going to cover all of the weekly release stuff up front, and then after that, we are going to take an in-depth look at the manufacturers that were at the IPMS Nationals and what kits they are looking to put out through possibly the end of this year and well into 2022 as well. So, for the folks who usually nope out when the import kits start, you might want to hang around or at least skip forward towards the end of the video and see what's going on there, because we're going to be talking about domestic kit manufacturers in that segment. Tamiya did not come. They're primarily the biggest manufacturers that have car stuff. The other manufacturers, stuff like Edward and places like that, are obviously doing more IPMS-y, if you will, models, who also didn't attend, but Tamiya didn't go, obviously, because of coronavirus. So, yeah, we're going to talk about Moebius. We're going to talk about the folks at Atlantis, as well as Revell. So, again, stick to the end of the video for that. There are no significant kit announcements of note, but we did get the October spot runs from Aoshima, so we'll plow through those real quick. It is quite a little list here, so. 2015 Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 10 Final Edition, 1973 Nissan Skyline GTR, 1998 Toyota Chaser Tour 5, 2006 Copen Ultimate Edition, 1991 Nissan World Medalist, 2015 Toyota Crown Athlete. That's the kit that does have parts in it to be built either a 13 or a 15. 1983 Nissan Cedric Gloria Brome, 2007 Nissan Fairlady Z 350Z, Nismo Edition, 1979 Toyota Corolla GT DX. One of those kits could be built either trim level. 1975 Beetle Cabriolet. This is that old IMA kit we don't like. Got another run out. I wonder when it comes reissued by Italeri next. 89 Toyota Crown Royal, 1991 Nissan Inferno, a 96 Mitsubishi Delica Space Gear. Both of the MGBs, the 68 and the 74, are getting a reissue. 1990 Nissan Leopard, 1992 Land Rover Range Rover Classic. The 1990 Toyota Hiace Boxy Style, the 1997 Toyota Celsior Auto Couture VIP, 97 RX-7 FD3S in its A-Spec form, the 2005 Fairlady Z 350Z in its top secret tuner version, the 2007 WRX STI in its INGS tuner version, the 2002 Nissan GTR C West tuner edition, 1984 Nissan Skyline R30 Genesis tuner edition, 1995 Hilux, what they call the old new school. So it is the new body style with the old school lowrider thing. This is the one with the pickup cap, the bed cap on it, rather than just being a tonneau cover. The 1997 Honda Accord Garson DAD VIP wagon, reissue of the 1999 Lamborghini Diablo GT, as well as the photo etch set that is sold separately from that, and the 2012 Lamborghini Aventador Roadster gets a reissue. 4 18-inch wheel sets, the Workmeister S1 3-piece, the Emotion CR Kawamis, the Graham Lights 57 Extremes, and the Work TE37 RTs. Also, lastly from this little list is the reissue of the DeLoreans from Back to the Future Part 1 and Back to the Future Part 2. So, let's take a look at the kits that were released in the past week. First up, on the domestic side, we've got this month's Salvino kit, and it is the 1972 Dodge Charger. So, primarily just a new decal scheme here. They've now done, 71, 72, 73, and 74, I believe, at this juncture. There may be more than that, maybe less than that. It just seems like there's been a lot of them the last couple of months. The one new thing to this kit that is actually genuinely new is the fact that it will include a treaded style tire. Back in this point in time in NASCAR, they were not running completely and total slicks at every single racetrack, so they did create a new tool for a treaded NASCAR tire that fits their universal chassis, for lack of a better way to describe it, because that chassis that they have sort of goes underneath all of their brand new toolkits, all the stuff that wasn't a pickup from the Monogram acquisitions from Atlantis, from the Blitz buyout of Revell. And yeah, so if you're interested in the petty kits, this is another one of those that should be available everywhere by the time you see this. And then we go overseas to a few releases in Japan. First up, we have from Platt specifically. These are, of course, the kits we want to talk about that have window masks added to them, that are the new kits. So first up, you have a reissue of the 2013 WTCC World Champion Chevy Cruze. You can see the little blurb there below the word champion. That is in Japanese telling you that it comes with window masks. So if you're specifically looking for this edition of that kit, remember, you will have to buy it in Japan. These are not exported to the United States or anywhere else. Hobby Search, Hobby Link Japan, your friends there, along with obviously places on eBay and whatnot. So that's out, as well as this, and sorry for the tiny picture. I think it'll probably blow up bigger to you guys when you watch this, but to me it's something about the size of, smaller than a deck of playing cards. But anyway, it's the Audi Sport Quattro S1 for the 86 U.S. Olympics rally, and this, again, with a little blurb there below the Olympus rally, telling you that this kit comes with the window mats. Other than that, those kits are completely and totally unchanged. There's just the addition of the ease of painting facilities there. Over at Hasegawa, first up, we have a reissue of their Mitsubishi Lancer EX 2000 Turbo Rally Edition. This is for the 1981 European Rally Championship Hunsrück Rally. We talked about this when it was announced. It's a really odd choice for what they're doing here, only in the sense of this was the 108th overall finishing car. It was like 14th or 15th in its class. Clearly, you're going out and trying to find something to put on this kit after you made it. I'm assuming that they had at least some plan of action when they decided to make a rally kit and compete directly with the new rally version of the Mitsubishi Lancer. So this is, again, it's kind of weird. I guess this is infamous in Europe as being the Mitsubishi Europe dealer team, and so there's a little bit of a following for that in itself. This particular rally maybe does not display the results that this car got on a more regular basis. This is maybe one of those situations where this was the rally that they had images to recreate the decals from. Do see that pop up as a problem from time to time. One significant problem with this kit in terms of the way it's issued is it does not come with the wheels that are shown in the picture of this car, and the car does not appear to, in one real life, ever use the wheels that come with the kit. So yeah, how much does that bother you? It's up to you to decide that. But if you want to build an accurate version of this, you're gonna have to find some other wheels for it. It is what it is in that sense. So you guys know I'm a fan of Hasegawa's work, but I'm not a fan of carrying Hasegawa's water, so to speak, when it comes to these things. It's not that expensive, comparatively speaking, to creating the entire Lancer experience as a whole. To have done these wheels at the same time you were making the rest of the kit, if you knew you were going to do this specific version of it, maybe perhaps the argument is that you never have another use for those wheel sets. But I would assume, plan to reissue this at some point in the future, and you would need those wheels again. The outlay for a set of wheels is not that much compared to a lot of the other stuff that goes into a kit. But all right, anyway, done arguing about that. And then we also got two other releases from Hasegawa this week. First up, you have the 87 SCCA Endurance Race. This will be the 24 Hours of Mosport up in Canada. The Porsche 944 Turbo Racing. Now, it does say in the instructions that there are I should say the literature rather, for this kit that the rear bumper, as the kit presents it, is not correct for the race car in 1-to-1 scale. I have yet to find a picture, maybe the Canadian folks, since this was up in your neck of the woods, can find them, but I've never seen a picture of this car in real life to see what the rear bumper looks like, to tell how big of a modification it would be to change the rear bumper to whatever it was supposed to look like. This obviously is very much a riff on the whole uh, tobacco livery, if you will. Now, this was not a tobacco car. This was never. Maybe it was when it was raced in the single make 944 series at the time, but by the time this got to the United States and was raced in SCCA, this was not a Rothman's car. But it certainly gives you that vibe with the white and blue and the gold and red stripe thing going on there. There are 2 team cars in here, so you can build both of them. I'm guessing this won the race, maybe? Like, I don't understand why this specific thing was picked out otherwise. And I've yet to find, and again, this may be a thing the Canadians can dig up, since it's maybe an easier history lesson up there, as to, like, what the results for this race were. There's videos of it. I bet you if I watched the video the whole way through, I could find out who won, but I'm not going to sit there and watch a 24-hour video. But there's videos of this race, but no seemingly online records of it. So that's out there. Should just be a straight reissue of the kit, bumper not excluded, and with a new set of decals in it. And the other release this week is the Subaru Legacy RS from the 1992 Rally Australia. This is known as the Subaru Splash livery. As you might expect, what you're going to get here decal-wise is blue splashes. It does, it's not a paint the car blue and there's a whole lot of yellow decals. It is paint the car yellow, and there are some blue decals that cover up the splashes here. This has POS written on it a few times in different places because the nickname of the driver involved here was Possum. So that's a neat little factoid. This car finished, if I can remember where, look up, finished 6th in the 1992 Australian Rally. And otherwise, this kit does come with the correct wheels and all of the parts. So this is something that you can at least get away with building out of the box, relatively speaking. I don't think the box comes with the vents raised. I think you need the PE set for that. But other than that, as far as the box art shows, this can be built out of the box and be relatively accurate to the actual 1-to-1 car. So there is that. Over at Aoshima, we got a couple of sets of wheels and 2 kit releases. So first up on the reissue train, the K-Brake Crown Majesta, so just a reissue of that kit. And then we got the second of what Aoshima was calling the High Society car. So this is a Toyota Cresta, the GX51 chassis series, Super Lucent, which is a trim level. It appears, from what I can see, that the grille headlight area, the rear taillight area, are the newly tooled pieces to this. Otherwise, this is a GX61 Toyota Cresta, and it goes from there. Because most of the parts on this part tree map that I have seen have old part number designations. Being so old, they don't have the date code attached to them. If you've ever seen a Hasegawa parts map, usually the first 2 numbers are the year the tooling was created, and then there's some part numbers attached to it so they can keep track of what the parts are in spare part inventory. This kit, again, except for the grille and the taillights, have just an old designation that you see in some of these 80s tools that are an inventory designation rather than a actual part supply notification. So the wheels are 1990s tooled, 2000s tooled wheels. So it's not a new set of wheels in that. It is, again, their whole gist with this is like, the Grand Champion feeling extended into the future. This is a mid-1980s car. Most of the Grand Champion stuff ends in the very early 1980s. So, yeah, it's a cool little conversation piece, especially if you got this one and the Nissan Cedric that they did earlier, to see how far they go in this series. There's just 2 so far. No further kits have been announced for it, but I'm assuming maybe in 2022 we see more of that. So I don't know. We'll see where that goes as time goes along, but that kit is out there. And like I said, it does have a couple of new parts to make this slightly earlier chassis code designation. The cars were pretty much identical, every 3 to 4 year refresh, but there were some new parts required. So good to see that. And then the wheel sets. These are all 19-inch wheels, I believe, or there might be a couple 18-inch wheels in here. I can never keep straight the sizes on some of these things. But anyway, you have the Yankee Racing Revolution GT CO1RRs, the Advan Racing GTs, the Advan Racing RG3s, and the Advan Racing RSDFs. Again, okay, they all were 19-inch wheels, and according to the box art, they want you to build 4 sets of Mitsubishi Evo 10s to put them on. So there are those, and guys, that wraps up the release stuff. So, if you don't care what's coming in the U.S., it's been a pleasure to see you. Guys, we'll catch you next week. For everybody who's been hanging on and waiting, this will be your future of domestic kit manufacturing for the next, let's say 9 months. Let's call it 9 months, maybe even longer. But it is what it is. No release dates on pretty much any of this stuff other than a couple of the Atlantis kits, which we'll mention as we go along. But just so you know, and the comment section doesn't turn into a sea of when is this going to be released. You guys are good for that. You usually don't do that, but I know somebody will do it anyway just to just to be that person. But again, no official word, unless I mention it, of any of the releases on that stuff. So, starting over at the Pegasus table, they, of course, now own Moebius, and we are going to look at some of their upcoming releases. So, first up, they're tooling up, a new snowplow. This is not the Revell plow, either one of them, the old one or the newer one they tooled up a couple of years back. This is a brand new tool, and it is a 70s-ish era plow. Obviously, this is going to go with the Ford F-Series type kits in the future. The way it's tooled up separately and displayed separately makes me think perhaps they will sell it separately, like they have with some of their wheel sets. No real word on any of that. It was just out there for display. Speaking of wheel sets, they also showed these off-road truck tires and these chromed set of F-Series again. Rims, obviously the front ones have the lockers on them and the rear ones don't. New tires, new wheels. We'll show you what these are going to be on as far as coming with a kit here in a second. But yeah, new set of wheels and tires. And then we go into the kits that will be coming probably the soonest. This kit, Dave Messner verified here shortly after we got back from Vegas that this particular gasser version of the Nova and the Chevy 2 is going to be released hopefully before the end of 2021. No guarantees on that. Right now, shipping from China to the United States, we'll talk a little bit more about that in the Revell section, continues to be a disastrous hot mess, so there's no way I can say for sure that it's going to be here before the end of the year. They'd like it to be. Tooling revisions are done. They're going to get the production shots next, and if they're not screwed up, then the kit goes into production. But this is what we're looking at. This is the Chevy 2 gasser. This will be, again, the first of 2 of these. I didn't specifically hear anything about the stock version of this, but I assume it would not be too far behind in terms of releases. But you get the gist of what you're looking at here. It's a built shot. It's white. These are the edited pictures from my camera. I didn't realize that the edited pictures were like HDR res, and they kind of lose a little bit of the detail, so I apologize for that, but it is what it is. I can't take it back now. There are also a shot of the engine here, giving you the blower and the scoop. The scoop is a 2-piece, so you are going to have to, if you care, you're going to have to do this, the molding there to make that look like it's a 1-piece scoop. You do see that you have actual tube frame for this, so it is a little bit of a modified gasser rather than being like a stock car with a giant engine in it, which I suspect you guys already knew about. The stock version, I believe, is which is going to be the Nova. I think the Chevy 2 is the gasser, and the Nova is going to be the stock. These bodies are scheduled to be interchangeable in terms of buying a body and putting it on the other chassis. From what I understand, if you want to put the Nova body on the gasser chassis, it will require modifications. Obviously, probably not the other way, because the Chevy 2 body would be more hogged out, if you will, and it should probably fit the stock chassis. Probably too loose rather than being too tight. But at any rate, you get the factory stock version here. And that, of course, has an engine in it as well. Which, hey, look, there's a bracket for that alternator, so that's a nice piece there. I'm not sure that the breather for the air cleaner should be on top of the upper radiator hose like that in real life. I'm guessing that part probably came loose and they just set it back on top for display. But it looks like it's a fairly well detailed kit. Got horn rings on the radiator, a hood latch on the brace and stuff like that. It looks pretty nice. I mean, the last time we saw this Era Nova was really the Trumpeter kit, and that was kind of a mess. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And then back here in the back is the altered wheelbase Nova, which will be something that comes along later on in the process. And then some truck stuff. You have this, no release date on this yet, but this is going to be released, I believe, as a 68. I think it could be any year, really, because it'll be on, but it'll be on those later 68 to 72 body style. And this is going to be a sort of a correct 250 Highboy. You guys may recall the original Moebius 4x4 pickup truck had the box art that showed an F250 Highboy in it, and it was not what the box contained. Of course, Joseph over Fireballs made a small fortune releasing resin to fix that, but they have gone ahead, and this is going to be primarily be a Model King type thing. You can see the front there has the snowplow. I'm trying to think what you would call that, and realize the hinge is not really on the snowplow setup. It's the hydraulics and the top of the plow attachment already on this, so you can see where the plow is going to come in. And this has, four-wheel drive wheels with the lockers all the way around for the F250. I believe it's supposed to come with F250 badging. It's got the suspension for a Highboy. Basically, this is the resin parts in plastic form this time. And again, I think this is going to be a 68. It could again be any year in the later years with kit bashing a different cab onto it. But that is something for folks who missed out on the resin, because Joseph over Fireball doesn't make the resin conversion for this anymore. To look forward to if you wanted to build one of those F250s, or you just don't deal with resin, of course. That's something that should be coming out probably next year. And then a kit that maybe might see the light of day before the end of 2021. And this has a different cab on it than what will be on it in the actual Model King box. But this is the ramp truck that you've probably heard so much about over the course of the last few months. This has the earlier version of the cab on it. It's got a 6566 rather cab on it, but it will be sold as a 67. Be interested to see if they tool up the correct 67 parts, because the 67 Ford has a different grille and different door panels than what comes in the kit and what was tooled with the kit. I have not seen those specific parts from the test shots of this, so I couldn't say for sure if there were or not. Clearly, you can put any cab you want to onto this from the F-Series, because they've got the early one on here. What is going to be tooled about this that is completely new is, of course, everything underneath of it, right? It's got a big, lengthened F350 frame. The F350 one-ton wheels, dually rear axle, extended drive shafts. This is not some cobbled together goofiness like the ramp truck from MPC was on the 72 Chevy. This doesn't have two random axles in the back. It doesn't have an axle covering the fuel tank. It doesn't, or the spare tire. It is purposely designed and purposely tooled to be a one-ton ramp truck. So the ramp body, of course, is all new. That's multi-piece. This has like a tire carrier on top, which I hadn't seen on earlier versions of the test shot, so that might be an optional thing, and other people who built the test shot didn't put it up there. But yeah, this will be really cool. We've needed, and I'll throw we into this. You know me, I'm a new car Japanese builder guy, but we've needed one of these for a long time. I'd love to have a new one, like a new truck, ramp style truck, but I'll take this one too. I kind of actually like it with the old cab on it more than the new cab. I think it's probably because there was a point in time there where we lived in a world where there were so many 68 to 72 Fords by Moebius out at one time that I'm kind of tired of seeing them. My other thing I would think of would be putting a later one on there, putting like a 71, 72 front end. I don't know, the 67, 68, 69 front ends just don't do anything for me. And I like the older cabs. Again, you can kit bash pretty much any cab you want to on this to be that part, because that all of these truck kits, if you haven't figured it out, are interchangeable with one another. So that, guys, wraps up. Oh, wait, I got a couple of other shots I forgot about entirely. That wraps up the plastic part, right? So we have some CAD drawings as well. So first up, you have this, which the bottom one shows you, I think it's supposed to be a 70, I think it looks like a 70 to me, as far as the front end goes. It might be a 71 or 72, but it's that sort of later front grille thing. And this has a custom sort of F-250 feel to it, right? It's got those new wheels and tires that we just showed you earlier with the front lockers and the back not having lockers. It's jacked up in the air, so it's got a high buoy or just a raised suspension. With the transfer case being on an angle like that, you've got a big old Borg Warner style winch on the front bumper, a light rack with a spare tire mounted to the light rack. That doesn't exist anymore. Obviously, this is a long wheelbase truck as well. So this is something that will be coming in 2022, further extending the use. Now, I think that is a 72 front end, if I'm not mistaken. I keep looking off camera because my Moebius kits are over here. Up top there, you have a 70 Ford F-350, which will use not the longer frame, but all of the one-ton truck components, and have a new dump bed tooled up for it. So there is something else to look forward to. And my personal favorite, probably out of all these, and I think this is another 72 front end, is this 72 350 tow truck. Looks like a 750 Holmes kind of setup in the back there. Got the old wheel sling, got the old school wheels for transporting a all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive car on it. This will, again, obviously use that new front suspension. Looks like it's got a four-wheel drive chassis underneath the tow truck, which is not unheard of. These do exist in places where it snowed a lot. We have, I've driven a few tow trucks back in my younger days. I worked at a service station and drove tow trucks, and one of our tow trucks was not an off-road truck, but it was a four-wheel drive truck. So they do exist. Yeah, so this is super duper cool. I am very much looking forward to getting this one in the future. This will be a really cool addition to any 60s, 70s, well, 70s base, but 60s, 70s kits, supplied kits. Diorama, having an actual tow truck to put with it. That is going to be super duper cool. So high fives to the folks out there in California for taking some Ford trucks. A lot of people I've talked to about this were like, Jesus, how many more Fords do they need to make? I showed them some of the stuff, and they're like, I'm going to buy those. So clearly, you don't have enough Fords yet, and Moebius has figured that out. So there is that stuff. Now, we went over to Atlantis next. They had Jim Keeler there. Jim Keeler, by the way, for as old as he claims he is, looks fabulous. And I mean that sincerely. He claims he's 80. If he's 80, I hope to look that good at 60. He was certainly very energized by being there, by talking to everybody, modelers coming up and having conversations with them. If you don't know who Jim Keeler is, he's the guy who designed, back at Revell when they were still in California, the parts packs that go underneath so many of the parts pack kits. For folks that are older than me, y'all know what the parts pack kits are all about because they were your childhood. For folks that are my age and younger, yeah, the parts packs, the things that just are an engine or a chassis, things like that, those were all recombobulated into kits at one point in time way back in the 1960s. And so with Jim Keeler's assistance, and these could be released underneath a tab called Keeler's Customs. I'm going to show you the shirt that they had made up for those, with the Fiat Dragster parts pack sitting on top of it. They're going to be tooling up some new tires for these, some new wheels for these, some new engines for these, restoring the parts packs where the parts were missing or damaged, are too poor to continue to be used anymore. If you look at the top there, you can see some of those are new, some of those are old. The old ones have a different pool tab on the parts pack compared to the newer tooled versions. And yeah, this is going to be something very interesting for people who appreciate this stuff. Now, am I going to go out and buy any of these? Probably not. I will admit that up front. But I have always been a person that believes in the growth of the hobby in general. The more it grows and the more these people sell, the better chance there are that they'll make something that I want to build, and it's just good for the hobby as a whole. So one of the other things we'll show you here, if I could find it, there it is this sort of T-bucket that has some more pieces and parts added to it, sort of a hint at engines. If you know your parts packs, you'll see engines back there that don't exist outside of the current parts pack system. And if you look back there in the background of those pictures, there's two spools of what look like thread. They're actually wiring. And so for the Keeler Customs specifically, this is not all Moebius kits going, or not all, Atlantis kits going forwards, but just specifically these Keeler's Customs kits, they are going to include a foot length of the wiring so that you can wire the engine. Because as we go through some of these, you're going to notice the engines outside of the body are pretty much every single one of these kits. So engine detailing, yeah, not the worst thing in the world to have. So most of you guys probably already realize or have seen online somewhere that the Moon Eyes Dragster, which is based on these parts packs, is going to be the first release of this. And this should be coming out in month or two, perhaps, somewhere. It'll definitely be out before the end of the year. The first 3 of these should be out before the end of the year. And the first 3 of these I'm going to show you are in this order as far as their releases go. So again, you know this is coming. They had a built-up version of these, and these are all built off of the new parts. None of these are old kits put together. These are all production shots of the model kits, basically. So you have the Moon Eyes Dragster coming first, and then second you'll have this sort of 23 T-bucket thing. We're calling it a T-bucket thing because I'm not sure they have Ford licensing. I'm sure they'll find out very quickly whether or not they need Ford licensing if Ford sees this, and they don't have licensing, which does bring up another interesting thing because the Fiat Dragster is the 3rd release in this series. If they don't have Fiat licensing, they don't have Ford licensing, and they need it for these old things, you'd be like, oh, that Ford's 100 years old. Ford doesn't care. Ask anybody who, in the 90s and 2000s, put like a Model T on a one-to-one club t-shirt and then promptly got a cease and desist letter from Ford about those. Yeah, that actually really did happen to a club in Ohio. Not a model club, but an actual one-to-one real car club. Fiat, of course, would have all your licensing for Mopar at this point, and then Ford would have a Ford licensing. And why those licenses specifically are interesting in this context is all of these kits that Atlantis has been putting out of the old Revell stuff are all GM based because they have that GM license. If they get the Ford license and the Mopar license, well, then we certainly get to see what all it is that they have over there from the Revell sale. So like I said, those 3 kits are going to be those 3 kits in sequential order, probably again before the end of the year, all things being equal. Obviously, Atlantis is based up in Long Island. Their manufacturing is kind of split between Long Island and Illinois. A lot of the automotive tooling is still up around Chicago because that's where the chrome plater is. Apparently, getting things chrome plated in New York, especially out on Long Island, is effectively impossible due to environmental regulations and things like that, and just nobody does it. So the chrome parts and the kits that they're attached to are still in the Chicago area because that's, again, where the chrome plater is. You see just some other things that are going to be coming up here. This C-cab looking Ford thing. The Miss Deal Dragster, don't call it the Miss Deal Dragster, which again is a parts pack sort of underneath with a different body attached to it. This dragstery looking thing. This, don't call it a Ford looking thing. And then a couple of other older Revell kits that we're going to get the light of day. Again, a reissue of the 57 Chevy. And these are the old 60s kits, the old multi-piece, or not multi-piece, but the everything opens, as we like to call them, kits. So these have the doors that open, the trunks that open, the hoods that open. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything about this, but you could kind of tell these panels still don't fit. There's nothing they're going to do about it because the tooling is what the tooling is, and they're just reissuing it. But yeah, and then the last thing that was up here was a 55 Chevy. Talked to Jim about this little tray on the window there. He actually CNC milled that cheeseburger himself. He's the only first metal milled cheeseburger in the history of modeling. Very proud of that. I thought that was a very amusing and self-deprecating kind of thing to say. Like I said, Jim was just a hoot to hang out with in general. He's, again, very excited about all these models that he had a hand in developing back in the 1960s coming back out again. And it'll be something, again, if you guys are fans of these vintage kits or you're of an age where these things are going to send you back to your childhood, it's going to be a super, super duper awesome time for you at Atlantis. A thing that was there, but not like in a photoable way in the sense that it was just sort of hanging out is the 57 Nomad tooling from the 1960s. That kit is going to get reissued as well. No word on the 56 Chevy. Talking to some people, the 56 Chevy apparently really didn't fit the last time it was released and might need some work. So parts of the Tri-5, old Tri-5s. Interesting that Revell didn't keep the 57 Chevy because that was not released too terribly long ago as the Ed Roth sort of art car. But when you have a new tool, why would you keep the old tool? So I understand again why they sold it. Over to Revell, shall we? Had a couple of different conversations with Ed over the course of 2 days. I won't go into one because it was more of a personal conversation, and I like Ed talking to me, so I'm not going to blow up his spot online. But the conversation we had on the first day was about these kits and their releases. So There are a few things I'm going to show you here that are just sort of like placard boards that are upcoming box art, and then we have a couple of actual like kits to talk about here. So looking at a box art of a kit that has not been mentioned anywhere that I've seen it is this reissue of the 99 Ford Lightning as Brian's Ford from Fast and the Furious. That will be coming back. Should just be a straight reissue of the Lightning with the Racer's Edge decals thrown in. A couple of people mentioned why is all baldy there on the box art. Some people were like, well, you know, it's something to do with Brian's family, not letting him, not Brian's family, but with, oh Christ, can't think of his name. I'm sitting here looking at Brian's Ford, and I can't think of the poor guy's real name. Oh, you guys in the comments will have a field day with that. But at any rate, with his family not allowing the licensing, and I'm like, it's the fact that this is a continued Fast and the Furious thing. Like, he's passed on. He's not He's not in the movies anymore. Sorry. So yeah, Vin Diesel's the face of the franchise right now, whether you like it or not. And yeah, so that's going to come back out. Kits you've probably heard about, but box art you haven't seen, and I'm kind of surprised that we're getting both of these reboxed, and that is the all-new Revell of Germany Porsche 911 Carrera 3.2 tooling that's slated to come out here before the end of the year in Europe. Now, when we get these U.S. reboxes is kind of anybody's guess, but you have a coupe version of this, and then there's also going to be a Targa version of this. The Targa version seems to involve some paragliders who aren't that concerned about their safety because they're paragliding into some rocks. This is a very interesting sort of backdrop too, because there's a very like 1980s Miami drug lord style mansion behind there, but that's clearly not Miami because Miami doesn't have that kind of coastline. The other one appears to be more European in its background with some houseboats going on. Both of them have the driver smugly looking at the camera. I appreciate that. A lot of the box art that Revell's done in the last 3 years since the sale has the driver smugly looking at the camera, if there was a real camera. But yeah, I'm surprised we're getting, really honestly surprised we're getting U.S. reboxes of both of them. I figure we'd probably get the coupe. It has been Revell's policy under the Habaco days that if there was a convertible version, and I realize the Targa's not a convertible, but it's close enough for the argument's sake here, was you had to buy the convertible in the Revell of Germany boxing. We only got a rebox of the coupe, right? We got a Rabbit. That's the Golf GTI, and there was a convertible version of that Golf GTI. We got the 68 California wheels Beetle, which is a very German version of that Beetle and not a U.S. car at all. But there was also a cabriolet version of that Beetle, if you're not aware of it, that was only available in a Revell of Germany box. The Mini Cooper, we got that in a California Wheels boxing, but there was a Monte Carlo Rally version of that was only available in a Revell of Germany box. So they've had a sort of habit, if you will, of releasing two versions of the same kit and only offering one of them in a U.S. style rebox. We even saw some of that with some of the Ferraris, where some of the later towards the very end of the Ferrari license, like the 599 GTO, was available in a U.S. box, but the SA Aperta was not. So, yeah, that's been a thing, and it looks like the new owners are not following that trend, which is awesome. Not so much cost, because, yes, it will cost a few bucks less to get the U.S. rebox, but just because right now it might be an easier thing to find. Or not, it all depends. So, let's see, look at a few other things here. Something that hasn't been announced that I've seen anywhere else is a reissue of the 67 Corvette. This is a 90s era Revell tool, goes along with the Corvette convertible of the same era. This is something apparently hasn't been available for a little while. I gotta admit, I'm not the best follower of sales trends of out of production kits until they come back into production. We start talking about how much something is needed. This is something I saw a lot of people online be like, thank you, finally, the convertible's been available, but not the hardtop, or the coupe version. So yes, that is coming back. A few things that were announced the other day in a 4-kit drop from Revell of Germany on their website had some errors, but they are. The 37 Ford pickup truck getting a reissue. This time it's coming back with a surfboard. This is sort of the later modified California Wheels version of it, which was not. This is the original kit is from, I want to say, the late 1990s, and I have them. I'm looking at them right now. But a reissue of them that came later on that added some speed parts to the flathead Also added a 38 Ford grill shell, and that's sort of what this is displaying here. I believe. Along with the surfboard, I'm not sure if that's coming from something else or if that's a new tool. The box art is certainly going to sell a few kits, I think, just of its own volition. But that's, again, a 90s tool getting another reissue. This is something that probably will interest a lot of people. It is a reissue of the 66 Malibu SS. This is the flip nose street machine thing. Now, if you're not familiar with these, there were two versions of this done back in the very early 1980s. This is a monogram kit. One was in a black box art, and one was in a red box art. The black box art car, the Street Rat, I believe is what it was known as, has been reissued a couple of times. That red box art car has never been reissued since the 1980s. And what it is believed to be, because Ed Sexton didn't necessarily have a lot of oversight to this particular project, so he's not exactly precisely sure, but what he understands it as, basically, is that this will be a combination of those two kits in one box for the first time ever. 2-in-1. So it's not 2-in-1 like it's a street machine and a factory stock Malibu. Not at all. It'll be a street machine or a street machine. But, again, a lot of those red box art Malibu kits have not been seen in 30 years. So for folks that are a fan of this car, I know this kit in general has a lot of fans. This is something to certainly be on the lookout for. One thing that we don't have a picture of, but was listed as an 81 1/25th scale Camaro Z18, obviously that's not correct, is a reissue of the 78 monogram 78 Camaro Z28. 3-in-1 kit. That's like a stock, a dragster, and a custom. It was most recently seen in 2012, so it's been 9 years. It's due for a reissue based on the old Revell reissue thing. That's something that Ed and I had a good chuckle on, because I think I might be the first person he's run into that realized what that reissue cycle was. As far as that was, he's talking about looking at the kit catalog to see what's been out of it for about 8, 9 to 10 years for the 2022 reissue scheme. Nothing to talk about there, but it was kind of a chuckle that I actually that he appreciated the fact that I realized what that date was as far as what the reissue was. And the other thing was on that list was a 1/24 scale 69 Camaro SS 396 2-in-1. Now, for folks who know, there was a 1/24 scale monogram 68 or 69 Camaro. It is a horrid kit proportion styles. It is a cartoon of a car. I can safely tell you that that is not what is being reissued. What is being reissued is the 1/25th scale, venerable at this point because it's been around since 1988, 69 Camaro. And what is being added to that is what you see on your screen right now. It is a SS 396 2-in-1. I believe the other in-1 on this is just going to be an RSSS type of thing, because the small block will, actually, no, well, 396 is probably visually different from a big block. So I'm not sure what the other side of this will actually end up being. I guess we'll find out together. But the key thing here is a new hood being added. The SS 396 has these sort of fake hood port things going on, and they were only on the SS 396 Camaro in 1969. So this will be the first time, and this kid again is what, 32 years old at this point, 33 years old, that this hood will be included. So even with that kit being as old as it was, and yeah, I guess even the people in Germany were like, "Are you really another 69 Camaro?" Yeah. So the first time this will be buildable as that without having to go get aftermarket resin hood piece for folks that are interested in that. Moving along, we also saw this little layout here. See up there, 32 Ford Rat Roaster conversion. Rat Roaster. This is Stacy Davidson's Rat Roaster. That's what that is. Obviously, with the new ownership, they're not carrying a lot of the licensing of the legacy Habaco Revell. And one of those things is Stacy Davidson's licensing. And so the exploded little thing you see up in the upper right of this screenshot is the new parts that are being tooled up to fit into that 32 Ford Rat Roaster to convert it into a non-licensed something or another that they can continue to release. So it's going to have a new interior, as you see there. It's going to have new door panels for both sides of the interior, as well as a new seat. It's going to have some new headers, along with the connectors that connect it to the actual underneath, under the car exhaust systems, for situations where you can't just be blowing your engine out the headers in a quieter neighborhood, a new shifter, and then I think probably the biggest thing that a lot of people are looking forward to in the few days that this has been up on forums, to sort of give me a little bit of feedback so I can take to Ed and be like, okay, so the forums are saying, and he was pleased with that, having that sort of instant feedback, he enjoyed that too, is this Duval windshield frame and windshield. So, yeah, the kit itself will not have any additional changes as far as I'm aware of, but those 7-8 parts up there in the top right corner are brand new, and apparently that D. Stacy Davidson's this car enough to have it released again and not be a problem. So for folks who like that kit and have kind of wondered where it was and why it never was reissued, or like that kit but a lot of people didn't like the interior of that kit, that fixes that problem with this. And so, yeah, that'll be coming in 2022. And then lastly, they had this on display, and this was kind of fun because I guess a lot of the cognoscenti of the hobby didn't realize this was coming. So I got to break some news. That was fun. It is a 71 Oldsmobile 442 Coupe Touchshot. So this is going to be a new body, clearly, new clear parts, clearly. Appreciate the pun. And then a new, some new interior pieces as well, to convert the 72 Oldsmobile 442 convertible into a coupe. Now, 71, the reason why this year was picked rather than just being a reissue of the 72 completely is the 71 was the last year of the 442s, where the 442 was its own car. The 72 442 is a combination of trim packages to create a 442 appearance type of deal. The 71 Oldsmobile 442 was the last of the actual, go in and order a 442. So that is why it is a 71. And a couple of shots here. I know they're not the greatest, again, because these are edited phone images and they've sort of taken on a life of their own. But yeah, you sort of appreciate what you're getting here. Looks good to me. I got to admit that I'm not a huge knowledgeable person on this car and this body style GMs, but it is looking good. And like I said, it'll go on the base interior, like the floor pan of the interior and some of the interior pieces, and then the entire chassis, drivetrain, engines, components from the 72 convertible. This is probably something that I think most people, myself included, really wanted from the convertible, was the actual coupe, rather than 85 convertibles like we got. So that is super duper exciting as far as I'm concerned. I realize I've said super duper a couple times, but hey, man, I was really jazzed about this. It's good to finally go out and talk to some people. Good to see some, some industry players. I haven't seen Ed since NNL East in 2019 because of all the COVID nonsense and the show getting canceled 2 years in a row. I don't know Ed will be at NNL South, but that would be the next place he logically might show up because he has been there a few times in the past with the Revell display. So that might be something to look at. Otherwise, probably be NNL East. He might do NNL West, maybe, but NNL East in Jersey next year in April will probably be the next time that the most of us out here on the East Coast anyway could bump into him again. And hopefully we'll see some of these kits. Now, one of the big things that Revell's had a problem with here recently is the distribution. And it's a multifaceted problem, right? You had, obviously, the bankruptcy, the sale, and the reconjuring, if you will, of Revell USA. And then here recently, the folks at Blitz own Carrera slot cars, as well as, obviously, Revell and a whole plethora of other stuff. Blitz is the holding company for this, but Quantum Capital Partners, the actual company with the money, owns just a slew of these sort of mid-market companies. But at any rate, they've merged the U.S. operations of Revell and the U.S. operations of Carrera slot cars into one new entity known as Revell Carrera USA. It's based in Atlanta, Georgia, which, of course, your Revell history. They were in California, then they've been in Elk Grove for 30 years, and now they're relocating, at least partially relocating to Georgia, at least in terms of the warehousing and distribution. I don't know that Ed's moving to Georgia, and I don't know that anyone else from Illinois is moving to Georgia. A lot of those jobs, obviously, at this point can be done remotely, so I'm sure they'll stay up there in Chicagoland. That didn't help distribution. Obviously, you had to move it all halfway across the country, north to south-wise. But the biggest issue with distribution right now, and why you have things like the Jaguar convertible, the new tool Revell kit, being available only at Michael's in the United States and nowhere else, and why you've seen certain Revell of Germany kits be imported by certain hobby shops but not anywhere else, is the fact that distribution continues to be a complete and total nightmare in terms of shipping things from China to anywhere else. It is not, I've seen before, Revell being strangled by German owners. The German owners want to run the U.S. division out of business, blah, blah, blah. It has absolutely, legitimately zero things to do with that. They have kits ordered, they have kits manufactured, they have kits sitting around in a warehouse. But because there are a dearth of containers to put them in, they are having a hell of a time getting them shipped to the United States. And then when they get here, they have to sit out in California and wait to get offloaded. And then they have to be trained, well, they were going to Illinois, but trained over to Atlanta to get them into a warehouse, to get them distributed. Michael's got their Jaguars because they sort of ordered their own batch of them, and it came over with their stuff for all their arts and crafts rather than it coming through Revell directly. Another thing about Revell Germany kits now is that Revell is not going to the U.S. arm is not going to directly distribute the German kits. The big distributors, Stevens, Hobby Time, Heartland, etc., are going to have to order those kits from Germany to get them here. So if you want a Revell of Germany kit in your local hobby shop, you need to be on them, to be on their distributors to order those kits, or you're going to have to order those kits yourself through a Spot Models, Hobby Link Japan, Hobby Easy, or wherever to get them, because they are not just going to be automatically force shipped in the United States like they used to be in the past. That was a huge problem with Revell of Germany kits, was you would get a reissue of something that had already been done here in the United States. If you're not aware, Revell of Germany pushed out a bunch of the Fast and the Furious kits, the 69 Yanko, the 71 Mopar, and a couple of the other ones. We don't need those back in another box. We don't. We have them here. They've already been released 2 years ago. So force shipping them back put hobby shops and distributors in a weird position, because they were getting kits that they already had on the shelves back again new at a $10 price premium. So that is not going to be done anymore. And again, if you want a Revell of Germany kit, get on your hobby shop or your distributor to get them for you, because they are not going to be automatically sent over here anymore. So be aware of that. And then, yeah, like I said, the decisions are still being made in Germany. That has been a little bit of a thing with a few different ideas that the U.S. folks have had. But it is not the problem of the distribution. Revell is not strangling the United States. It is a combination of things in worldwide shipping that is strangling the United States, as it were. And that is a problem for everybody. Right now, as we go into the fall, this is when all of the containers usually get bought up anyway by your Walmart, your Target, your Best Buys, and whatnot, Amazons, to get all the Christmas stuff over here. So you had a situation where you were already short, and it's only exacerbated. Those major retailers pre-bought space going into the fall. They could see what was going on, and that has left the available free space very, very limited. And again, the issues of unloading and transportation here, once you get into the United States, continue along. That's one thing to take into consideration. If you want to raise up the pitchfork of make it here in the United States, all the problems would go away. Well, no, it would just make the problems here in the United States, because we still wouldn't have the transportation infrastructure here to move it around, because a lot of people got sort of maneuvered out of their transportation jobs, be them longshoremen, be them the cartage drivers who do local shipments from ports to rail yards, ports to warehouses, just truck drivers in general. A lot of people are old. Truck drivers are older crew in general. A lot of them had got to the point where they were tired of driving and retired. A lot of them got jobs where they, were able to be home more, or got paid more, or were treated better. It reflects the overall job market, right? It's very easy to sit around and be like, oh, those lazy people don't want to work at McDonald's. Well, if you can make $20 an hour unloading trucks at Walmart now, why would you make $7 an hour to have somebody throw pickles at you because they didn't want pickles on their cheeseburger? So for a long time, a lot of people told people to go get better jobs. Now they went and got better jobs, and this is the fallout of that. Jobs that are crappy don't have anybody to work in them. Yeah, money from the government could be one thing, but it's not the thing, and it's not even the major thing. I hate to break that to you. So, yeah, that, guys, wraps up this video. Hope you enjoyed it. It's a little longer form with everything we had to talk about from Vegas, but We'll be back next week with sort of the ho-hum regular stuff. Although we will be getting the stuff for the All Japan Model and Hobby Show coming probably the second week of October, or second week of September, rather. There's not going to be an actual show. The actual show was canceled due to coronavirus. But all of the information is still going to come out like it did for Shizuoka last year when it was a virtual show. So in about 2 weeks, we'll have that to look forward to. And otherwise, hope you guys had a great weekend, and we'll see you on the other side.